What is the point of whiskey regions? There's not one. No, there is one. But I think it's also important to say what it's not good at. I'm Daniel Whittington. I'm the Chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School. Scotland has 5 regions. Are they real? Do all flavors fall neatly into a pre-packaged list of 5 regions of Scottish whiskey? Ireland just recently came out with this map, and I say Ireland. There recently showed up in the world a map of the new regions of Irish whiskey. It's broken down into like the Wild Atlantic and the And it was actually designed by a marketing firm in charge of developing Ireland tourism. And the whiskey people in Ireland are all a little bit like, really? I mean, the line falls like dead between distilleries that are right next to each other and they're in 2 different regions. Well, guess where that also happens? Scotland, where there's Highland distilleries that are a stone's throw from the edge of the Speyside region. When Edinburgh Whiskey Academy was building their single malt certification, I can't believe it took me that long to pour whiskey. One of the things we were tasked with when I was helping write the introduction was, are there regions of American single malt? And immediately when that question was asked, the answer was no, absolutely not. There's no way that you can define the way American single malt tastes entirely based on what part of America they're in. I mean, even in Texas, the malts being made in Texas taste nothing like each other and have way more kinship with distilleries on opposite coasts, right? Everyone, especially the American Single Malt Commission crew, really allergic to the idea of like, let's create regions of American single malt. Except there is a reason to talk about regions of American single malt, and it's a big one, and it's an important one, and we shouldn't forget about that. So first, we're going to talk about McCarthy's. Now, this I'm excited about. Ooh! Malty, funky, smoky. This is everything that I love most about American single malts. So, I have the privilege of being tangentially connected in the industry at an acquaintance level with Caitlin Bartlome. And she was recently named Master Distiller at Hood River. And that's who makes McCarthy, along with, she makes like 50 frickin' things. I don't know how she sleeps, actually. I'm pretty sure she doesn't sleep. And so we've become friends through friends and connected to each other enough that I could reach out and say, hey, I'm going to drink this. Tell me what you can tell me. And man, she sent me so much information. And it was perfect, and I'm excited about it. So, McCarthy's, as far as we know, and everybody that I know in the malt world in America agrees with this, the first American single malt. The first. That's how young craft is. The distillery was started in 1994. They released in 1998 the very first American single malt. And the inspiration was entirely Scotland. So they are sourcing peated malt from Scotland, bringing it over to Oregon. And originally we're in Portland. They've changed locations multiple times. Now 100% of the production is Hood River. And they're distilling it on a hybrid still. Now, if you don't remember, hybrid still is usually a pot base with a column head. And they're doing a single pass through the pot column and then making really narrow cuts on the other side. And then they're barreling those things. And they're barreling them in Oregon oak. How cool is that? Of various sizes and so on, but mostly larger. Not mostly larger. They're doing 200 and 223 liter, but they're also doing 350, she said, and 400 liter. So they've got various sizes of cask profiles. And then they're blending those together. This is 3 years old. She did say what's really cool, they're doing off-grain distillation, which just means that's very, very normal in a lot of Scotland and Irish distilleries, where after your fermentations, you siphon off the liquid and leave behind all of the stuff, and the liquid goes into the pot stills. But there are a lot of craft guys that are taking everything in the fermentation and dumping it into stills, and that's called on-grain distillation. They're not doing that, they're doing clear wort. And when they moved their warehouse and their aging from Portland area to Hood River area, they're not that far away from each other, but she said it's just that change of 50 miles or so. Is it 50 miles? It altered the angel share. So in Portland, they were losing proof over the years. And in Hood River, they're gaining proof over the years. But they're noticing that the flavor profiles are pretty similar. And they're not having to worry about that, but they are. That's just, climate is such a weird thing, and I love that. This one in the nose, it smells like if you told me this was a really young, funky Ardbeg, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I would put this side by side in a tasting with Ardbeg Wee Beastie, the 5-year-old Ardbeg. And they're different. Ardbeg is, for lack of a better term, darker. This has a lot of that sort of honey fruit buried densely in the middle behind all of that smoke and all of that grain barley forward note. But it's punchy and it's got attitude, and I like that. It drinks, okay. It starts like a kind of a wispy, paper-thin Kulila, like a light, smoky, sweet vanilla. And then as you swallow and the finish creeps in, it unrolls into these sort of vegetal notes that aren't quite green, but they're earthy instead of smoky. It's nice. They have this 3-year-old, they have an older one that I think is like 6+. They have single cask variations, which I have in the vault. And I think these guys are a great representation of what's possible in American single malt. And I think this is a great gateway for people like, I only drink smoky scotch, American single malt, boo, boo, boo. I don't know who would say it like that. Maybe only me. But this would be a great transition from Ardbeg Koila into an American single malt. It's really nice. Very approachable. Got a lot of character, but not fighting with you and not funky, fainty. Yeah, rock and roll. Okay, so so thank you, Caitlin, for sending me so much information. I appreciate that. Why are whiskey regions important? One word: tourism. That's it. That is the only value for whiskey regions, in my opinion. That's it, tourism. I don't need to know when I go to Scotland that every distillery I visit in Speyside, it can be a predictable Speyside style of flavors. I don't care about that. I just want to know that when I get on a plane and I fly into Edinburgh and I drive up into the Speyside region, that I can visit 15 distilleries within a 30, 45-minute drive. You know what I mean? In Texas, we've got 5 regions for the Texas Whiskey Association and the Texas Whiskey Trail. It's not because Central Texas distilleries all taste the same and Houston distilleries all taste the same. It's just because Texas is freaking huge. And if you're gonna visit some Texas distilleries, it's nice to know that you can go down to an area like Houston and see the list of here's the 4 or 5 distilleries in your area in the Gulf Coast Trail. And the same thing goes for Ireland. It's like, hey, you're gonna come over here. This section has a whole bunch of concentrated distillery locations. Or in North America, hey, you want to go to the Pacific Northwest? That's kind of a region. They've got a whole bunch of... Now, it's way more spread out than Scotland, but it's all still close comparably, right? And on a selfish note, as a marketer, whiskey regions, especially like in Texas and Scotland, they give tourists and whiskey fans a goal, something to accomplish, something to achieve. I'm going to go to Texas. I'm going to visit the Gulf Coast Trail. And then next year I'm going to come back and I'm going to visit the hill country Trail. And then next year I'm going to come back and I'm going to visit the South Texas Trail. And that's going to drive people back over and over and over. People go to Scotland. They will spend a trip going, I'm going to just take on Speyside this trip. And next year we're going to do Islay. And this year we're going to do the Highlands. And that is real. It brings tourism back over and over and over. And so that's the value of whiskey regions, and it should not be understated. It's powerful. It's powerful for everything that funds and keeps distilleries actually alive and functioning and making money. So, on one hand, I agree 100% with the whiskey people who say, don't put us in a box, we're all our own people. And on the other hand, as a marketer, I say, give me the regions for the tourists, and I will try to make it clear that we're not implying that you all taste the same. And hopefully we can meet in the middle and compromise. Cheers to you all. I'm really glad you're here. In this region, over here, you're gonna like and subscribe. This is the region for liking and subscribing.